writing. She's even given up her recess to help other students catch up. Nicole is trustworthy, compassionate, and a friend to everyone who knows her. Wow, that's amazing. And her parents are here. Thank you so much for coming. Agenda changes?
I believe Councilman Spriggs.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item 2.5, and if we could talk about it early, that would be great. This is the breakwater final map,
Okay.
and I just wanted to make a few, although I completely support the item, the only way to make some comments is to pull the item from the agenda, but so that there's no anxiety, it'd be nice if we could just quickly deal with it before the other main agenda items.
So
Thank you.
just about,
I have one other comment to make is just the closed session item was removed and not held, just so for the record,
okay.
that's clear. Thank
All
you.
right, so I don't have to say anything about that then. You did. Okay. Mr. City Manager, would I put that before 4.1 then?
That's fine, Mayor. That
Okay.
will work great.
All right, good. Okay, so we'll be approving 2.1, 2.4, 2.6. Okay. Anything else for anybody with agenda changes? Okay. Okay, are there any, we have now the time of the evening where we do reports and assignments from council members? Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, and I too agree with that movement of that
Okay.
agenda
Sounds
item. Yeah, I attended the elected official reception with the South County Economic Development Council last week, and basically it's a good time for us to sell Imperial Beach. And I ran into different people. Number one, people have never been here. Two, people have been here one time and were totally amazed. And then the third group of people I ran to is the people who came that first time and now they just keep coming back again and again and again, and they love Imperial Beach. So it's good to really see people so excited about Imperial Beach. And then also I went to the library 100th year centennial last week, and with the opportunity with the mayor and Mrs. Bragg, and 100 years of our library, and I thought it was an amazing event. And we talked a lot about our new library and the good things that are going to be happening with that. And then one last thing, at the open house, we had the fire department with the sheriff there, as well as lifeguards there representing the city. And the last thing I'd like to mention, we have the fire station open house from 10 to 2 this Saturday. And it's not only the firemen there, fire personnel. We have the sheriff. We have fire stations from all around our county. We have the lifeguards there. And it's going to be a huge event. And it's a good time to bring your kids there, as well as yourself, to get versed on what to do in case of an emergency. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Bragg?
Thank you. Just a few quick items. I think most of my colleagues up here also attended the symphony event on October 10th, sponsored by the Port District of San Diego, and it was, I know, Ed, I was sitting by you for a while. It was just a wonderful performance, and the way they were able to get the crowd to interact with the bands was just, it was really phenomenal. It was a great evening. As far as the MTS Executive Committee, which I am honored to be on, we met on October 15th. There was a presentation from the Audit Oversight Committee. The auditors are Pun and McGreedy. And due to Gatsby 68, 74, and 75, we're going to see a lot of changes in how our financials are looking. So that reporting of the defined benefits is really going to be looking differently. I just wanted to note that there were no findings, no disagreements with management, no accounting issues, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, no ongoing concerns, which for an agency that size is wonderful. Or a small agency, it's wonderful too. There was also an audit update About the collection of cash, the cash is collected. Those controls are very strong. So that, it kind of makes you feel good about that as well. On October 16th, the Sandag Transportation Committee met. There was an update on the purple line. This is going to be the line that will go all the way up to La Jolla. Extremely important for veterans in the South Bay. And I had turned to one of my colleagues at MTS, Sharon Cooney, and I said, Sharon, where do you think the completion date is September 2021? I said, Sharon, where do you think we're going to be in 2021? And she said, I don't know. And I said, I hope we're both on that line on the inaugural run of it. Tomorrow morning, Chamber of Commerce networking breakfast. Guest speaker, Lieutenant Dave Brown, is going to be sharing good news about our crime statistics. The Boy Scout project, the Bayshore project, is this weekend. Is Hank here? I don't see him in the audience, but we had that presentation last week. So they are going to be starting that at 8 o'clock. Always looking for volunteers if you'd like something to do this Saturday. And October 30th, our senior center. And our senior center, if you're 50 years young, you can start going there. So they're having their Halloween party and potluck from 11:30 to 1:30. And I hope you that are eligible will attend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Spriggs.
Thank you very much. A few items to report. And I think these reports are good because it lets you all, the public of our community, know that council members are out there representing the community and doing things. As you may or may not know, the council has asked me to serve, and I'm in my 4th year now as the city's representative to the Metropolitan Wastewater Commission. And the Wastewater Commission has in turn asked me to be their representative to the San Diego Public Utilities Independent Rates Oversight Commission, which looks at water rates and a lot of other issues affecting water, wastewater, public utilities delivery in the area, particularly San Diego, but there's a lot of spillover that impacts us. And one of the big areas that San Diego is in the leadership of the region, if not the state, if not the nation, is in promoting water conservation and in promoting alternative uses of water. For example, as I've reported on before, recycling of water for human use, what they call their Pure Water program. That program has received national attention, and through a series of questions that I asked during that last meeting, it's clear that the city is pursuing efforts to really speed up the process of getting all the state approvals necessary. This is going to be a multi-million-dollar investment, producing more water than will be produced by the desalinization plans, and a more secure source of water as well. So stay tuned, and I'll be updating you on how those plans are going. I also attended, as Councilmember Patton said, the South County EDC Public Officials Reception. I had an opportunity to speak at that reception. I think the mayor spoke before I came, and then I may have reiterated some of the points that he made, but promoting Imperial Beach to these largely business and investment concerns at the South County EDC is one of our jobs as your council people. And I mentioned the new retail opportunities that are going to be available through the Lighthouse Point project, which is a mixed-use project that's going to have retail at the ground floor on Seacoast Drive, as well as the City Mark project, same thing, as well as the new hotel and the fact that Imperial Beach is really moving in a very positive direction. I mentioned the fact that we have the second lowest crime rate in the entire San Diego County area, and the lowest in all of the beach communities of San Diego County as well. And a lot of people expressed appreciation for those comments afterwards. Finally, and this is not really something that is part of my job per se as a council member, but I was invited to be a major participant in the annual convention, the first time ever that BAPAC, the Black American Political Action Committee of the state of California, has had their annual convention in San Diego. That was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of last week. And I was asked to be one of their panelists on their education panel. And there I emphasized the need for California, for BayPAC, to make representations to the state to increase funding for K through 12 schools all over San Diego County, especially in the lower income areas. The reason being that California is probably fifth from the bottom of per student funding for K through 12 education, which is not a very good situation for us in Imperial Beach or anyone else in San Diego. I also had the honor of being one of the speakers at their gala on Saturday night, and it was very nice to see some really significant state figures like Speaker Tony Atkins attending these events. So it was a good opportunity for exposure for Imperial Beach, and to also try to get BayPAC to do some things that will help the people of Imperial Beach and the South Bay and San Diego County. So that's it.
Thank you, thank you, Councilmember Spriggs. I just wanted to reiterate to thank the city staff, especially City Clerk Jacqueline Hald for her efforts on the Symphony by the Sea, as well as Ed Villa. It was a team effort. It was really, really remarkable event. It really does show you how those kinds of events bring our community together. It's really moving for me to see when we had the Stars and Stripes and all forces, the salute to the services, and watching my dad's, I think 82 now, he was in the Air Force during the Korean War, and just how proud he was to stand in front of the whole community, and watching all the community clap for all the folks who have served was really, really moving and inspiring. And of course, we had the Lincoln piece, which was really, really awesome. So that was great. It was really great also to hear the people that funded it, Dan Malcolm and Greg Cox, say that they're committed to that. So we have to make sure we get more money to do it next year. So anyway, I love having that. And then with that, we're going to have Military Appreciation Day on Sunday, November 8th at Pier Plaza from 12:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Captain Barnett, I think you're going to be there. Thank you. And I want to thank the Navy providing their 32nd Street Brass Band, I think is going to be there, which we're really excited about. We love military bands in Imperial Beach. And so we're really, I think it was one of the first things I talked to the Navy about when I got elected, literally, was, can we get the Navy band to play in Imperial Beach? So I want to thank you for honoring that commitment and working with us. I know it wasn't easy to get it. So I'm very happy about that. And it's a Military Appreciation Day. We're going to be honoring all the members of our military, those who are in service now and those who've served. And so anyway, that's really great about that. It'll be November 8th from 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. at the Pier Plaza. Want to thank the city also. We had worked with the owners of Jean's Union. I think I talked about this last time, but to clean up that lot, they finally tore down the chain link fence and razor wire, which was really good. That was definitely the city putting pressure on them to do it. I've been working with David Alvarez to make sure that the site at Lydia's, the city of San Diego, was cleaned up. It looked like Night of the Living Dead with graffiti and all kinds of garbage and stuff. And it turned out that unfortunately our partners in the city of San Diego Code Enforcement Department had given mixed messages to the owners about why they didn't need to clean it up. So I want to thank David Alvarez for that. He got on them, and we actually met with the owners as well. So they were happy to clean it up. Now we're just working on the other side of the street by the AT&T or SDG&E substation, but I've been in communication with SDG&E about that. It's actually, they're not on their site. So I'd had communications with Pedro Villegas about that, but David Alvarez's staff has been alerted. They're hopefully working with the San Diego Police Department to figure out what they can do on that. Because it's absolutely, even though it's not an Imperial Beach, it's unacceptable to have our major thoroughfares into the city littered with these Night of the Living Dead style camps. El Nino is important. We're going to have an El Nino workshop on November 17th at 6 p.m., right? Is that 6 p.m.? Here at the City Hall, right? We're already seeing significant changes to our weather and climate as a result of this huge body of water that's warm water that's out in the Pacific. Water temps are historic. It's 72. I was out in the water this morning. It's 72, 73. That warm water and those tropical conditions have created these tropical weather systems that have produced rain. And there's been 25 sewage spills in the Tijuana River this year, which is a lot. In fact, on October 17th, we had a 1.3 million gallon spill. But luckily, we have people like Chris Homer from the city of IB that are on it and making sure that the IBWC is reporting to us. But when you have this consistent level of sewage is being released into the river valley, that creates conditions for the clouds of mosquitoes that are down there. And so that's having a big significant impact on public health and the ability of people just to use the valley, whether for naval operations, border patrol operations, recreation, and all different kinds of things. So that's something the city is expressing its concern to the International Boundary and Water Commission to, and then we'll be expressing our concern to a number of elected officials that have the ability to actually help figure out how to resolve that. So we're continuing to push on this issue, as well as the issue of all the waste tires that get washed into the river valley, as well as the need for the county to get the state of California to do rapid beach testing in Imperial Beach. So those are the three areas of our beach sort of management programming that we're trying to work on to get clean water here in IB. And then that's it. Great, everything's going great. All right, so now we have communications from City Manager Andy Hall.
Mayor and council, we have a quick report from Ed Villa, who works with our Parks and Recreation Committee. Wanted to give you an update on the needs assessment that we will be distributing in just the next few days.
All right, so the Parks and Rec Committee and city staff have prepared this Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment to determine resident interest levels in various recreation programs. The survey is now available online at imperialbeachca.gov/parks and rec. For those of you in the council chambers, hard copies are available in English and Spanish in the back of the room. Responses are due by Friday, January 15th, 2016. For more information, feel free to contact me at 619-423-8615 if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now we have public comment. I've got some speaker slips. Anybody else has speaker slips they want to put in? So with that, it's my pleasure to have Crystal Lujan and Marios Ballesteros from South Bay Youth for Change to come up. And just please state your names and addresses for the record, please.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Crystal Lujan, and I'm a student at Mar Vista High School. We are here working to give you information on our It's Too Easy campaign that is being launched right here in Imperial Beach on Thursday, October 29th. The It's Too Easy campaign highlights messages from youth to adults about the harms of underage drinking and how easy it is for youth to get alcohol. The goal of the It's Too Easy campaign is to prevent underage drinking through several visibility media events combined with ongoing social media posts. We do that together through increasing compliance with underage drinking laws and urging adults to do what they can to keep alcohol out of the hands of the youth. The message is to adults. Businesses need to check identification. Party hosts need to know the ages of alcohol consuming guests, and adults need to secure alcohol in the home and at social events in a reasonable way. Underage drinking has become way too common, and kids are getting alcohol from adults. It's time to set a new standard for adults where it is socially unacceptable to provide alcohol to minors. I will now let Marcos give you a little more information on the upcoming event. Thank you.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Marcos Ballesteros, and I am a student at Mar Vista High School. We are here this evening to invite you to attend our upcoming It's Too Easy media event on Thursday, October 29th, being held at the Imperial Beach Pier at 4 p.m. We want to thank you in advance, Mayor Dedina, for agreeing to be at the event as one of our spokesmen. This is a very important event happening in our very own community, and we hope that you will find efforts to prevent underage drinking. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for all that you're doing. Now we have Cheryl Quinones. Ms. Quinones, your two speakers, supporters have asked to donate their time, but you have a maximum of 6 minutes under the municipal code. I'm sure you can get it done in 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council and staff. My name is Cheryl Quinones. I live at 1137 Iris Avenue in Imperial Beach. Today I'm here in representing our super PAC, which we call a super PAC, not a political PAC, but a super PAC, for Safe Foods for IB. There's a movement going on that would include a movement that requires the City Council to come aboard with and hopefully embrace. As a super PAC is a necessary entity in our city government and needs of our people for safe food for IB. We ask the council to put forth a resolution amendment or a stipulation supporting safe, healthy business practices as it relates to safe food for IB. When issuing licenses, permits, regulations with significant consequences for businesses that don't include for safe food for IB. Discrimination of our community members has taken place and is not acceptable. In this case, Wally Marketplace. He has attacked our low-income families openly and their education level as to say that they do not know how to shop when they go to his store where he has rotten, moldy, rat-infested food. This is an insult. He goes on further to publicly state that women should go do their wifely duties. We find that unacceptable. That is directly discrimination. And lastly, that our city council commit and embrace to support and recognize the importance of our as elected representatives to regulate, to instruct our staff, our beloved staff, to draw up these regulations and license and reviews, that this is a right of our people to ask you, our council, to support and commit to safe foods in IB. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Red card.
Mr. Benham, Roger Benham.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak. My name's Roger Benham, 220 Dahlia Avenue. You might have seen the mailer. We sent out the flyer critical of the Pond 20 going to mitigation. I want to point out that in all my criticism, it's not towards this institution or the city, and because I couldn't do what you do, you know, and I know it's sometimes a thankless job. You're basically volunteers. So I've never been critical of this institution. I don't have the skill set to do what you do. However, what is happening with the Pond 20 giveaway to mitigation is a destroying of the skill set that I do have and that many, I believe many residents of the Imperial Beach area have. I started my business when I was 25. That was nearly 30 years ago. You have a product and a service that you offer and the customer is happy and they're so pleased they tell someone else. Pond 20 is that opportunity. It's a staple. And Councilperson Bragg, I remember when you made a comment about what you're going to tell your 20-year-old son, you know, when he looks back. Well, this is one, you know, because I grew up here and I look back and I wonder what the decisions were made that have deprived private enterprise and economic opportunity in this town. And this is one of them. Ecotourism is a garnish, okay? The real prosperity is the economic development of Pond 20, and we have sent out and have formal proposals for very legitimate economic development. What Pond 20 was promised for economic development. I have the words from Dan Malcolm, who says regarding Pond 20, quote, Pond 20 was specifically excluded. This is regarding mitigation. I know because I wrote the letter and got it signed 14 years ago. I inquired about that information and I got a letter back from you, your count staff, no such record. And regarding what funds, there's the talk about funds, and we know the two small sites. What funds? and who is to benefit? Now, if you had something, a guarantee on a property, maybe even you had the title, and someone said, well, you said, I'm going to give this to you for some funds, and I don't know who it's going to benefit. Of course, you wouldn't do that. You would want to know what funds. So I don't know. Do you know? And if you, I don't know if you do or not, but we don't. And
Mr. Benham, your time is up. Do you need any more time?
yeah, 2 minutes,
No.
1 minute.
30 seconds.
Okay, thanks. So the point is, how can this deal be a legitimate deal if you don't know what's being given to us? And also, it can't be legitimate if there's been totally inadequate public input. So I'll send out an email tomorrow to you highlighting these points. I ask that you please help to delay this deal. Okay, give us more time for public input before you trade this most important decision in Imperial Beach's history away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benham. Okay, now we have the presentations period of the evening. We have presentation 1.1, and that's the SDG&E Vehicle Grid Integration Program. Kevin O'Byrne will give a PowerPoint presentation on the item. And also in attendance is Vanessa Mapula Garcia, Regional Public Affairs Manager, who is available for any general SDG&E questions.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Mayor and council members and staff. And Mayor Dedina, I wanted to appreciate your involvement in our SDG&E's Community Advisory Council over the past few years. I'll be very brief because I know your time is very valuable. What I'm here to talk about is an electric vehicle charging station proposal that SDG&E has made. We're focusing in particular on charging stations at workplaces and multi-unit dwellings, which are areas that do not right now have a lot of charging stations. For a quick background, you are likely aware that the state has required all utilities, electric utilities in the state, to have 33% of their electricity coming from renewable energy by 2020. SDG&E hit that earlier this year. So 5 years in advance of the state's mandate, first utility in the state to hit it. We're very likely going to hit 40% before the 2020 mandate. This is just to illustrate something that has changed over time and will change heading towards 2020. That belly, this is called the duct chart. That belly is illustrating that in the middle of the day now, we actually have an abundance of energy from all of those renewables, which we didn't have several years ago. We were at 1% renewables in 2001. We're now at 33%, heading to 40%. The state just recently signed, heading towards 50%. So we actually have a lot of energy available in the middle of the day from solar in particular. And that the neck of the duck, that peak that we need to meet, is SDG&E's customer base is mostly residential focused. We don't have as much industry as LA and the Edison territory and PG&E's territory in Northern California. So everybody here comes home, turns on their stoves, their computers, their TVs, their lighting. And it's possible, if we see the ramp up that we'd like to see in electric vehicles, we don't want people to come home and charge their cars at the wrong time, which is in the evening when everybody else is using their energy. So here are a few facts that the state is focusing on. 40% of California's greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector, which is why the state and the governor is focusing on that area. In the middle of the page, you see two of the primary objectives that the governor has in his plan by 2020 to have grid integrating charging infrastructure to support 1 million cars, and by 2025, 15 million electric vehicles on California's roads. And that grid integrated charging is important. That's not just chargers. We're not trying to promote just chargers for the sake of having chargers all over the place. We want them grid integrated so they're used at the right time and don't exacerbate other problems that cause us to have to build more power plants to meet a higher peak. SDG, or San Diego's region in general, is a very strong electric vehicle area. As of October 1st, we have more than 18,000 electric vehicles in the area. Per capita, it's one of the strongest markets in the state and the nation. However, this quick chart shows you where we are on a trajectory heading towards the governor's goals. There's the 1.5 million electric vehicles by 2025, and you can see the trajectory right now, even in the state, is only heading towards about a 40% level of that goal. The same thing applies actually to charging stations. We're well below the mark there. So we filed an application last year. We're very close to the end of it now, and it's focusing on a number of things. We want to increase the number of plug-in electric vehicles, also double the amount of zero emission miles on hybrids in particular. And again, we're focusing on electric charging in workplaces and EV and multi-unit dwellings, because often those are places where people don't have the charging. If you were able to charge at home and at work, people are much more likely to adopt an electric vehicle. But people that don't have workplace charging or live in a multi-unit dwelling that they don't have a garage like a single family home, or their parking isn't close to an outlet, they can't. The best opportunity is where people park their cars frequently and for long durations. So overnight while their cars are sitting there, ideal. At workplaces where their cars are sitting there for 8 or 9 hours, those are ideal. So our proposal is to build 550 different facilities throughout SDG&E's entire region. And that's why I'm going out to all of the city councils to make sure that your city is aware, just like every other city. And we'd like to place them in an Imperial Beach, just like all the other communities, each with 10 chargers each in each of those locations. So we have a settlement agreement with a number of different parties, 17 different parties. You can see a lot of environmental groups there, Sierra Club, Environmental Defense Fund. They're all in favor of this. This is all for the right reasons, and including some of the commercial vendors that are out there that put charging stations at malls and park and rides like ChargePoint and NRG. And there are a number of different benefits. I will let you know, you're seeing the hard copy that I left behind. So I'm going to go through this rapidly, but you can look at that. And some of the benefits, besides reducing greenhouse gases, which is the core, again, we want to have people charge at the right time and not drive the cost up. And this is just where the regulatory status is. The judge now has the case. We expect a proposed decision by the end of the year, hopefully a final decision by December or January, and then we'll move forward and be able to go out to cities and multi-unit dwellings and say, we'd like to place these in your locations. So I welcome any questions. Otherwise, my contact information is also on the cover there, and I welcome any questions in the future as well.
Are there any questions from, Councilmember Patton?
Absolutely.
I'm not quite versed on the electric charging. So if I have an electric car, I charge at home, maybe it's on a timer where it charges at the right time.
Right.
And I'm sure that's built in.
Exactly.
Then I go to the mall or store, or golf course, and I see a charger there. Now, is there a fee?
There is a fee. So that's a
And
commercial
how does that
entity
work?
out there.
How does that work?
That's usually a credit card arrangement or a subscription arrangement with whoever that site is, like Blink or ChargePoint owns those networks. And so those work. But there you are at the mall and you need to wait for the charging, and charging takes a little while. Even a faster charger typically takes, a couple hours depending on how much you need. But again, we're focusing on if you can do it at home and you can do it at your workplace. I've had an electric vehicle for about a year, and quite honestly, I've never used a commercial charger because I can charge at home. And fortunately, we have chargers at SDG&E's campus, and we pay for that energy, but I can just fill it up at either place.
And when you're at SDG&E or another business that's part of this program, is there a fee?
There will be a fee. It's only available for the employees of that host site.
Right.
So for SDG&E, we all pay, and we pay for the energy. Let's say it's another business based here in Imperial Beach. It will be just for their employees. So this won't be a public charging station, but it'll be for any of those. And the employer actually has an option. They very well, I was at Illumina up in Sorrento Valley last week. They've had charging stations. They have about 30 of them right now. They don't charge their employees. So they installed them on their own dime, and they provide that as a perk to their employees. So they can either pass it on or they can pay for it as a perk.
So basically what you're doing, you're getting the word out on this right now.
Right.
I mean, for people like me and hopefully in the audience, and because I have no idea, I just drive by those and like, oh,
Right. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is educate people about that and make them more available to everyone.
well, very good. Thank you.
Councilmember Spriggs?
Thank you for the presentation and the program. I think it's the time has come. Just a couple anecdotal things. I just read, I think it was in last Sunday's or the Sunday before, Sunday LA Times, about the dog-eat-dog struggle for charging locations that electric vehicle owners are going through in the state of California, because it turns out that there are more electric vehicles than there are charging stations, or at least they're not arranged in a way that suits the population trends and the uses of the vehicles. So I found that to be very interesting, and your initiative very timely in that regard. The other thing is, it would be great if through your influence you could get more of the vendors to either subsidize or provide these, especially the commercial organizations, to provide charging free for a time period, so as to provide another incentive for people to move to electric vehicles. It's amazing. Just yesterday, I was on the UC San Diego campus and I ran into my former secretary, and she was all aglow with the fact that she has a Nissan Leaf, and grabbed my hand and yanked me into the parking garage to see her brand new Nissan Leaf. And it was a very impressive vehicle. She had it all hooked up to the charger. And she said they don't pay at UC San Diego. They're trying to introduce and incentivize the use of these vehicles, like some of the commercial companies that you're referring to. So if you have any influence, that would be a wonderful way to do it. And with SDG&E's dominant position in the marketplace, it may even be possible for you to incentivize these folks to reduce the cost or make it free.
Possibility. One quick note, you're exactly right about it's a chicken and the egg situation. People that haven't bought an electric vehicle but are thinking about it look at the network of charging stations and aren't really comfortable with it, and they get the range anxiety, it's called, and aren't convinced. And the same thing that a lot of the charging station companies look at the level, that trajectory that I showed earlier about how many people are buying cars, and they're not convinced that as many people are buying them, so they don't spend the money to expand their networks. So that is where the utility is trying to get involved and help spur that adoption of electric vehicle.
Thank you for that presentation and this wonderful program. And I think it's something that the city needs to strategically evaluate, possibly meet later with SDG&E and identify where some locations could be. I mean, in theory, if there's enough, if we were a wealthy city, we'd have a fleet of electric vehicles. We already have electric carts at the beach for our lifeguards, but and we'd have a charging station here, maybe at the beach or something. But that's something we just need to think about, because we're not talking about just next year. We're talking about 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So this is a really great program, and even also opportunities we could look at affordable housing and stuff. I think that's part of the idea, right? That you maybe have multiple housing units and
That's
stuff.
exactly.
Right.
Also, at least 10% of our sites are going to be in disadvantaged communities. So we're
Right.
definitely looking
Okay.
at
Well,
that.
that's something I know we'll follow up on, and thank you very much for this great
Thank
work.
you for your
Yeah.
time. Appreciate it.
Now it gives me great pleasure, item 1.2, to Naval Base Coronado Coastal Campus construction update by Navy Captain Stephen D. Barnett. And just as my introduction, Captain Barnett is a native of Columbus, Tennessee, and alumnus of Tennessee State University. We received a BS in mechanical engineering, and Troy State University received his MBA. He served in 6 aircraft squadrons on 6 staffs and aboard the USS John C. Stennis, with more than 23 years of naval service. He's done countless operations in support of the 5th, 6th, and 7th fleets, and responsibility to deploying to over 20 countries. He's a designated naval flight officer with over 2,300 flight hours in 3 different types of Navy and Air Force aircraft, and holds many shipboard and aircraft qualifications. He's been awarded the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, and Joint Commendation Medal, Navy Commendation Medal, and the Navy Achievement Medal. Anyway, obviously very qualified.
Well, I don't know.
Thank you so much.
We'll
for being
find out
here.
if I can work this.
Okay.
Wes told me I didn't have to do this, but I'm going to try it. But thank you so much. I appreciate Mayor. First, thanks for having me. And council members, I'm glad to be here. Staff, it's good to see you, and I'm definitely glad to be here. But just want to take a couple of minutes of your time. And as you know, I took over August 14th, and it's been a whirlwind. And I'm down here a lot. I follow a lot of the things that go on here online. My family lives on the East Coast, so I got a lot of time to myself. So I spend a lot of time reading and catching up. So it's good to see what's going on down here and the excitement that's building. So you'll be seeing more of me. I do eat down here a lot. I visit, and so I'm down here a lot, and I look forward to seeing everyone a little bit more. Just want to take a couple of minutes and just go over some of the coastal campus things, some of the, as my duty to you, being our neighbors and the great neighbors in that you are. I want to explain a little bit about what's going on as you head up 75 and tell you where we're tracking and how we're doing. First slide, and I've only got 5 slides, and then I'll keep it brief here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we're looking as far as the projects. We're in fiscal year 15, and we're looking out to beyond 21. So overall, it's going to be about it's going to be almost $1 billion worth of effort that are going to be going on right up the street here. The big year, what I want to draw your attention to is fiscal year 17. If you notice that there's a lot of things going on there, about 275, $276 million worth of projects are going to be going in there. That's the big month. That's the big year. We're putting those in the budget. We're fighting those in DC to make sure and that they come here because we're on a tight timeline. So we don't have any room for slippage or sequestration, things like that. So we're definitely stressing it out so we can take care of those sailors that'll be working there. But like I said, the big year is fiscal 17. So I did get it to work with. See? I'm good. This is just an overview. This is the phasing plan, and this is a composite that shows it's broken down, and you can see it there by fiscal years of when we're building things. What I want to do, and I'm going to walk you through this in a quick phase matter, but some of the big items that are going on that I don't want to say that keeps me up at night because I stay up pretty much all the time anyway. But if you notice right in the middle, there's that big bunker that you see there. It's highlighted right in the middle there. It's got the little black lines through it right there. That's the biggest concern right now. It's not a concern, but it's a big bunker, and we've got procedures in place to take it down. So we've went out for budgeting on that. Well, for contract on that. So we've got somebody that thinks that they know that they can take that down. We'll definitely keep you in the loop on that as far as when things are going to happen. But I believe the way that they're going to try to take this down is through fracking. They're going to, I'm thinking they'll blow it up, but I think they're going to go the other way with it. So, but we'll definitely keep you in the loop on that. Another big issue there that we're going to be working on is if you look towards on the left-hand side of the chart there, you'll see something that says fiscal year 17, and that's our ECP entry level. That's where we're going to start working to bring folks into the base. Right now, it's open on I think it's 6:30 to 6 to 16:30, so till 4:30. It's manned by one person, just so they can bring construction and things in there. But that's our biggest thing. And Wes and the rest of the staff here, along with our engineers, we're going to be working with Caltrans to develop a very comprehensive. And I want to over-engineer that. I don't want because traffic grows and things like that. So I want to make sure that we put all of our efforts in there. I've talked to my Admiral Mark Rich, and that's his concern also, is that we really need to make sure that we're going to do that. So you have our word on that we're definitely going to be digging into the details on that. Next slide. We'll just look really quick at 2015 and 2016. What I want to draw your attention to is if you look right in the center of the slide there, I think it says P797 and P893. That's going to be the most visible portion of what you're going to see from 75 when you're walking there. So all the artist renditions of things that you see that has it looking like a campus, that's what you're going to see. That's going to be the big thing that's going to be going up in 2015 and 2016. So we're also doing some work over by where the antenna used to be. They're building a comm station over there, so you'll see some work going on there. And then, as you know, we also have a non-coastal campus related project, the indoor shooting range, which is also being built there. So there's a little activity there. Mayor, I'm sure you saw some of that when you were running through. You're probably going so fast you didn't have a chance to see all that, but there's some things going on there. Okay, for 2017, that's some of you can see that the infamous bunker is now gone. There's actually 3 bunkers in that area, but we're only removing one of them, and that's the big one right in the middle. And we're tracking there, no big issues or concerns. That's a big phase 2 of the project, so no issues or concerns with that. And we're getting it to be a little bit more of a defined base by that time. So it's going to look more and more like a base. And the last slide that I have here is just, we talked a little bit about the indoor shooting range. It's going on right now. We talked a little bit about the ECP time, the entry control points. I'm sorry, I'm not going to use as many acronyms, but that just shows you when we're going to be coming in and out of there. It's open from 6 in the morning till actually till 4:30, but the traffic is only going to be coming through there from 7 to 4. So, you give a 30-minute on each side for that. We're working with Caltrans right now. The big thing that I wanted to tell you is that we're going to have a website there. It's up and running. So if there's any issues, comments, or concerns, by all means, anyone can reach out through that media, or you can reach out to me or Wes or Sandy. But we definitely want to make sure that we're working with the city and keeping you guys informed. And we're going to be, I don't have a Facebook. I think I'm like the only person that doesn't. So, but the base has a Facebook. So I guess therefore I have a Facebook now. But we will be reaching out and putting information on there. I want to make sure that we're getting the information out via that and press releases. And in addition to that, sir, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be working with your staff on El Nino preps, because we're in this together. And I want to make sure that we are sharing our lessons learned and also learning from what you guys have learned over the time, so we can, put our best foot forward or best feet forward here on this, and just protect our, all of our interests. And that being said, like I said, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be working with you. I just started riding a bike. I'm sure I'm not as good as you, but I'm trying to work my way down here. I'd rather probably run or jog down here than ride a bike, because to me, biking is hard. But I'm down here a lot, and I'm going to be a little bit more visible and say hello. But I'm down here a lot. I'm eating, I'm hanging out and doing stuff. So I've kind of always been the type of person that's kind of behind the scenes, but my team here tells me that I need to be, get out and show folks that I'm down here. But I'm here, trust me, and I'm going to be down more. And I look forward to November to coming down and having a good time and meeting all the residents. So that's it, sir. I think I've taken too much time. So.
If there's any questions from our council members, Councilmember Patton.
Captain Barnett, amazing credentials.
Thank you.
I mean, on and on and on and on. I was looking for all the medals, and
I only got 3. Look.
Yeah, but thank you for serving, number one.
Thank you
for what you've done and do. Looking at $1 billion, or even looking at $276 million spent in a year, that's quite a sum.
That's a lot of money.
You've been thrown right into the frying pan of this,
right?
And it sounds like you're ready for the challenge.
I think so.
You've probably accomplished every challenge you've went for.
Well, I've been blessed to have a good staff wherever I went, so I've got strong folks that can kind of help me focus me.
Get that done.
Yes, sir.
Just you mentioned one of your biggest concerns was the traffic on
right.
And that's one of my biggest concerns,
okay.
as well as I think everybody in the city. And just I'm a big commuter on the Strand, and this doesn't have anything to do with Coastal Campus, but it could be something very similar to Coastal Campus if it goes wrong. On any given day when I drive down the Strand, 7:45, 7:30 in the morning, I hit south of the Naval Housing,
right,
which is about 3.5 miles away from, say, City Hall of
right.
Coronado.
Right.
And in 3.5 miles is 25 minutes.
Right, right.
Or 2 miles is 20 minutes.
Right.
And that is, it's tough.
It is.
It's and I every day, I write down, I have plenty of time.
Right, right.
I'm like, jotting down my notes,
right, right.
I don't go on my phone, I don't go on Facebook or anything. But I'll write down my notes.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, I know Tarawa is a big deal, because that lane definitely needs to be longer, because that one queues up, and then now we have one lane.
You're right.
So I'm working with Caltrans. I've talked to, with Sandag. I've been talking to a woman at Caltrans there, giving her my notes. And I know it's a multi-task thing. We have Coronado, we have Caltrans, we have the Navy.
Right.
This can't happen. Not even in the slightest. Can you imagine getting stuck in Imperial Beach or just outside of Imperial Beach for 20 minutes? And so please, just keep that in mind. That's a big concern for anybody and everybody I talk to.
Okay.
And it's a giant concern of mine. And then also on Silver Strand Boulevard, I know it's going to be used, but just making sure that's used on a minimal. We've talked about some hours it might be open, like lunchtime, or but just to be aware, and I don't know if you are,
Understand,
but
understand.
that's just an area that it's very residential, and
Right.
so that's something. And then something I think you're going to do is keep listening to the public.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, keep the project dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be ever changing, I think, and as it changes, just so it's a positive change each
Yes, sir.
as you hear and change, and I think that sounds like what you're standing up telling me.
Yes, sir.
And I'm here, and I think the council is here to be good listeners and
Okay.
advisors, and we'd love to hear more from
Okay.
you. So
Well, I appreciate that. And what I will tell you is that, and Wes can vouch for me on this, is that with respect to traffic, I'm very engaged with traffic at all the sites. I'm like I said, I'm up all times of the night, so I may get up and wake up and go out at the front gate at all the gates and hang out at 4, 4:30, and 5 and look at because being from Tennessee, I'm not the sharpest guy, so I gotta visually see stuff. So I may get paper, but I'm like, okay, this is nice, but I need to go see it.
why
So
don't I pick you up?
and we can go.
I'll pick you up.
I could probably walk and catch you because
I'll
you'll
pick
be
you up at I'll pick you up Coronado Caves. I'll have a couple coffees, and
and we can
sit
just
and
do
chat.
that. I'll tell you what I have noticed is that there's a lot of things that I can do with the tenant leadership. So this is a great opportunity. We have leadership meetings with them monthly. We have for the folks here and NAB, and also at North Island. And that's when I reach out to them and we talk about the behavior for their, hey, we got to get in a commuting mindset. How can we do this? I know you're operational, but there's some things we can do better. So I'm definitely, just reach out to Wes, and we'll definitely be in touch
Yeah,
with
I
you.
think I think you would get more buy-in if
Mhm.
people knew that like you're solving a problem that's
Yes,
already
sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I've taken up time, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Thank you for coming to give us the update and,
Yes, sir.
and the report, and thank you for your service. And you've done some amazing things in your career, and we're very, very proud to have you here in our community. We are a military community. We have a lot of active military here. I have SEALs in my building, which is a good thing because it's very safe that way.
It is.
I like that.
Free alarm.
And a lot of military retired folks, and so Imperial Beach is a neighbor, is a friend. Every now and then issues surface that are where the friendship is challenged a little bit, but never to the point of breaking or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
I remember a few, and you're new, so I'll just take a second to mention to you one of the past issues, that the issue of changing flight patterns for the helicopters and the increased numbers of flights and that sort of thing that over residential areas and all of that. The community tolerates and has accepted the base forever. But when there are substantial changes in the flight patterns or in the noise level, then that's very noticeable. So, we're with what goes on there, 100% supportive. But it's just an example of what my colleague, Councilmember Patton, was talking about in terms of the change, the delta from what the community is comfortable with as a partner with the military to what a situation where there's really some significant change to the detriment of the community's experience. So I want to just put it in that context as friends and partners, that the traffic issue is obviously going to be one. Anything you can do to, I don't know whether it means staggering hours because everybody's trying to get into the base at the same time, or a widening project for Route 75, which is also a security link to the bases as well, or other features, and certainly the Rainbow. No, is it Silver Strand? Yeah, Silver Strand entry point is one where there'll be a lot of people sensitive to significant increases in traffic there. The only other thing I wanted to mention is, and we asked this before, is the indoor range. Can you imagine, we're developing our tourism and ecotourism industry, and we've got that as well. We're becoming more visitor serving. We've got, of course, a residential community. But if people are hearing gunfire at night that they never heard before,
Right.
again, that's a delta over the status quo that could have a quality of life impact that would be very negative on the community.
Okay.
So you're in the planning stages of that facility now, and I would just hope that it is spec'd to the point that it does not have an impact on the Imperial Beach community.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's really my comments. It's in partnership and all in good
Thank you.
spirit of maintaining a great working and partnership and relationship between Imperial Beach
Thank
and
you.
the Navy.
And I appreciate that. And we'll get back with you with respect to the shooting range concerns and questions with respect to that. And what I want to strive to just make sure that I tell you here as I was looking at my notes is that, I aim to keep this friendship going. You guys have been staunch supporters of us for ages, and we want to keep that. What you will get from us and my staff is transparency. You will get that. You will get the information, and we will communicate with you. So I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that and that we're going to do all that. And that's one thing I'm going to be. I'm going to be as transparent as possible and come to the table early so we can discuss things out and do it then.
Councilmember Bragg.
Captain Mordaunt, thank you for being here this evening and
Thank
for
you,
your
ma'am.
service to your country and
Thank you.
for exploring Imperial Beach. I'm going to make a different offer to you
Okay.
as our representative to our metropolitan transit system.
Mm.
I'd like you to ride the 901 bus.
Coming from DC, I'm very familiar with buses, so okay.
And you could get on the 901 bus at the corner of Florida and IB Boulevard, and it will take you through Imperial Beach down 9th, and it will ultimately take you through the city of Coronado.
Mhm.
And if you work in downtown San Diego, it will take you there. Just blocks away from where I work in downtown San Diego. So I'm familiar with the 901.
Okay. Okay.
And believe me, I have constituents here in Imperial Beach who let me know when they're late to work
Okay.
because of traffic
Yes, ma'am.
in Coronado. And many of them don't work in downtown San Diego. They make connections and go even
Mhm,
further.
mhm.
So when there's a lot of traffic, the other day, they were, this one person that had called me was 25 minutes late to
Yes, ma'am.
work. So, when it starts to become a threat to somebody's income because they're
Right.
consistently late because of traffic. But you said something that really caught my ear, and that in your weekly meetings to encourage your sailors to use
Right.
public transportation.
Right.
And this is rideshare month, so this is a great month to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
loved hearing those words come out of your mouth.
Well,
I'm
thank
going to
you.
hold you to it.
Well, thank you, ma'am. And
All
we're pushing it, and coming from DC, that's and Wes also came from there last time. It's got to be an incentive. It's got to show, it's got to be easy for, it's got to be easy enough to where someone says, yeah, it makes sense for me to take it. So we're working with our sailors. Some of them work non-traditional hours, and we understand that. But they're the big audiences that we can target, that we can talk to about the van pools and the things like
Yes.
that. And we can talk to, we can talk to them about contracts. Maybe they can write it in there. So I'm trying to think out of the box right now. We do staggered work schedules also right now. So there's ways that we can show folks that, hey, you can still do a non-traditional maybe type of way to get to work or work hours and still do the government's bidding while being a good neighbor.
Right. And please, keep me in that loop
Yes, ma'am.
because at our meetings, just like now on the blue line, because I'm constantly nagging, I hate to
Mhm.
use that word, but that's what I do, that the frequency of the trips just wasn't enough.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
now at the peak hours on the blue line on the trolley, they're every 7 minutes. So if
Okay.
we need to be considering that, on the 901, that we need to increase the frequency of our trips up and down the Strand, we can certainly do that.
Well, thank you.
We have to prove that the ridership will be there as
Right.
we have done on the blue line.
Right.
I think that we can get there.
Okay.
And I don't really want to call it a friendship. I'd like to call it a marriage.
Okay. I'll call my wife when I get home. So it's good. But
Welcome to Imperial Beach.
but we'll be in touch, ma'am. I know Wes has got your info, and we'll definitely, because we do spend a lot of time trying to work this out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank my council colleagues for their comments. I won't repeat them, but definitely support their statements. And Captain Martin, thank you for your service and thank you for your transparency. I appreciate you being here tonight. We go a little different direction. I'm super excited about the world's greatest Navy having the world's greatest Special Forces team really in IB. We're going to claim that base as our own.
Claim it.
We're going to do a lot. I think Military Appreciation Day is a great time to start this new effort to really reach out to the military and show the military and the Navy that we really appreciate them. To all our Navy families and folks that are in the Navy and veterans, as well as other, obviously, service branches. And I'm really excited about Naval Military Appreciation Day, that all our our American Legion, the VFW, and the Fleet Reserve were all joining forces for, I think, for the first time to host an event. So that's really great. And want to do a lot more. We're really trying to become a much more fitness and recreational friendly community. We're doing this Parks and Recreation Survey. So I'm really excited about the fact that this amazing unit that's committed to fitness is going to be housed at the edge of our community. So look to us to do a lot more to support fitness and really getting our community engaged with those types of really outdoor activities. So, and then finally, as I mentioned before the meeting, it's $1 billion going to be invested on that site. So we've got to make sure that the federal government pushes agencies to really improve water quality in the Tijuana River. So your men and women can train 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not get sick from water pollution. And that was a problem here in the past. So for the SEAL team. So I want to make sure that you guys have clean water, and we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to get that for you and for our community. So anyway, I want to thank you for being here tonight. We look forward to continuing to work with you and help you safeguard that $1 billion of tax dollar investment.
Thank you. We appreciate your support, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you now.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Now we have 1.3. Is someone here for that, as well as just me reading it?
Called in sick tonight, so we were
Okay.
just going to read the proclamation, and then we had a real quick demonstration.
So 1.3 is presentation of proclamation and recognition of Movember 2015. And the month of proclamation, month of November 2015, whereas the city of Imperial Beach has the responsibility to recognize occasions of outstanding significance, and whereas the global charity Movember Foundation's vision is to have an everlasting impact on the state of men's health, and whereas the Movember community has raised over $650 million, funding over 1,000 programs in 21 countries to improve and save the lives of men affected by prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health problems. And 1 in 7 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. And treatments options for prostate cancer vary depending on a man's age, stage, and grade of his cancer, as well as other existing medical conditions. And whereas testicular cancer is the most common cancer in males between the ages of 15 and 34, and 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. will experience a mental health problem in any given year, and 87 men in the U.S. die by suicide every day. So, whereas moving can reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer by up to 50% and lower your risk of early death up to 30%. And the city of Imperial Beach joins communities across our nation to challenge men to grow and women to support a mustache or make a commitment to get active and move, both of which spark conversations and raise vital funds and awareness for men's health. So I be it resolved that Serge Dedina, Mayor of Imperial Beach, together with our city council, designate November 2015 as month of Movember. So anyway, and you can find more about this at Movember.com. To grow, give, or move, and spread the word. So thank you very much. I know this gentleman who reached out to me about this, and it's a shame he's not here, but it's a very, very important cause. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And we wanted to make sure that the assistant city manager has thrown out a challenge. He didn't shave last night, and you can see here that this is what we're all hoping for by the end of the month. So this is our picture with the mayor. Yes, this is what we hope to all look like in the month of November. You have to start over for November.
I know Councilmember Pat and I will be moving a lot. So anyway, thank you. That was great. Very, very important. Now we have 1.4 El Nino report. Fire Chief French will give a report on the item.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm here tonight to give you an update on what we've been doing as a city and as a staff in preparation for the upcoming El Nino. I'm sure it's been a big topic and you've heard a lot about it in the news and in newspapers. And from what it's looking, I've been to a couple workshops and a couple different things on weather preparedness for this upcoming season. And it looks like it might rival some of the El Ninos of the past of 97, 98, and possibly 82, 83. And so as a staff and as a city, we've been preparing. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the steps we've been doing. And in front of you, you do have a sheet with kind of an extensive checklist of some of the stuff that as a city and as departments we will be doing, but I'm not going to go over the whole thing. So I would just kind of summarize what we've been doing. And then if you have any questions at the end, we have city staff here that can answer any of those questions. Okay, any event, any rain event, any disaster has 4 parts to it. And the first part is the preparation phase. And in this phase, for example, we ensure response readiness by going through each one of our departments and making sure that we are, as a staff, prepared, with the equipment we have and the resources, and by educating the staff and the city to what will be done on our side. So here in the future, we'll be going out into some of the organizations, Kiwanis and the chamber, and letting them know as a city what we're going to be looking for and what we're going to be doing on that phase. The second step is going to be the pre-event. So if we know there is a storm on the horizon, we're going to be looking at weather forecasts. We're going to be looking at tides and surf and different things like that, so that if that perfect storm condition is there, that we're prepared. So for an example, we have a sandbag program. It does say activate it, but it's kind of a program that's already in use right now. We've had people for the last 2-3 months coming by the station and getting sandbags. So we do have a couple thousand sandbags at the fire station. We have a pile of sand back there, so people are starting to prepare for it. So like I said, monitoring the weather forecast and looking at those things in that pre-event phase. During the event, if there is need, we need to declare an emergency, and that's when the state funding comes in, or federal funding. But it'll have to be a pretty good disaster for that. This picture here is actually here in IB in 82, 83. A lot of the conditions that we had back then have been, solved. We've either put in parks or seawalls or apartment complexes that do block some of that, tidal flow going onto the city streets. So media response is getting the word out there about, what areas we need to look out for. And as a city staff, public works, the lifeguards, the sheriff's department, and public safety, we kind of have a good idea of the intersections, the parts of town that we need to really focus on, and we'll be prepared with barricades and shutting and blocking off streets like that during this part. So we're coordinating the emergency response and monitoring the hazards during this phase. The post-event is the part of the event when, we can update the public on, what areas are safe to go back into, if the flooding has subsided. And then, of course, the condition of the water, during our rain, we usually get the pollution and things like that. So care of, and return to, the pre-storm condition, the city that we like in this picture here. And then learn from, that event and what we can do better. So this is just a quick, brief idea of what we've been doing and what we've been looking at. We put a lot of work into this, but I didn't want to stand up here for hours and go over what we are doing. So if you have any questions at this time, we have the staff here to answer any of those.
Councilmember Patton?
This is a great report. And I could see a lot of time went into it. I could see everything in-house, that you have the mutual aid happening within, and that looks fantastic. What are you going to do with other agencies out of house, say City of San Diego or other agencies? Are you working together with them as well on this, or are you guys all set?
When it comes to any type of disaster, if it's a local thing here, that we can get resources from the City of San Diego. We've been talking with the Navy for any possible resources we can get there. We've been talking with the county and the City of San Diego And on the public safety side, we can get mutual aid and automatic aid resources from outside our city to help if they were needed.
Excellent. Well, it's good to know you're here, as well as the lifeguards and sheriff and everybody else. Thank you.
Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you, Captain French. Our November 17th workshop is going to deal specifically with this El Nino situation. Is that correct, or?
I know some of it is the seawater level rise,
Okay.
so we're going to be a part of that.
Okay. I'm going to tap into Mr. Levine's memory bank. Years back, and Mayor Bixler was in office at the time, and he tasked you and I with having a disaster preparedness meeting. Needless to say, colleagues, we did not prepare as well as we could have, and that meeting was a disaster. And Mayor Bixler asked us to hold another meeting. And where we went wrong, looking back, Mr. Levine, we said, I think the community thought that we were going to give them filled sandbags. We weren't going to do that. We had sandbags there as representative of what a person would get. We had our meeting was designed to be passive, so people could attend our meeting and just walk up to a booth that people that we had invited to be there and take whatever information looked interesting to them. That was a mistake as well. The community wanted to know, what do I do in case of a disaster? And we didn't really fulfill that task very well. So I'm just throwing this out there, having learned from in the past where we could have done something better. And always, it's getting the word out. So I'm going to be really interested in what I have been talking to Andy and Steve a little bit about some ideas that I've had just from from the past. And one of them is, how do you get the word out immediately to people? So it's that it's engaging in that reverse 211 or whatever it is, and being able to compile lists and maybe designating people in the community to say, I will take the responsibility to get the word out. Maybe it's to IB Little League or girls softball or to the Chamber of Commerce, so that we have designated people in the community that we can feed information, and we know pretty much without a doubt they're going to be a partner with us. So I think it's going to be important to identify the community partners who can help us achieve this goal as well. So that's, and I'm not trying to micromanage the meeting on the 17th at all, but that's what I'm thinking is going to be at that meeting. That's what I want to be able to tell people in the community. Hey, if you have any concerns about disaster or preparing for El Nino, please come and listen to this workshop, because there may be something that you can learn, something that may save your life, or help us get back on track faster. So just, you probably already thought of that, Captain French.
Yeah,
But
and
okay.
what we're going to do too is be plugging the Ready San Diego, and signing up for that is a good deal, because if there is a disaster or there is an emergency, you can get that information right away. But also part of our plan also is, if we need to evacuate any part of the city with our sheriff's department, we can do that. They have the reverse 911 system, and they can designate an area and get the word out and evacuate if need be.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Just a couple things. This is really good news that you guys are planning ahead, and I'm delighted, Captain French, that you're on top of this. Just a couple things. It seems to me that early warning is really critical. That a plan to mobilize and to communicate and mobilize people who may be affected is important. I don't know, and that we need to have not just reliance on city staff, but maybe a network of volunteers ahead of time to, if we've got a 12-hour notice or 24-hour notice, that can help with things like sandbagging and that sort of thing. I would just throw that out as a thought. This community is really, really good at volunteering for things. People are always willing to pitch in, and if we need bayfront or shoreline protection reinforcement during a tidal event and during El Nino, I'm sure there'd be a lot of people who'd be willing to pitch in and help out. rather than leave it to each homeowner, so to speak, or each business, especially the small businesses that are prevalent in our town, to sort of figure it out for themselves, you know. So I throw that out as a suggestion that could be organized well in advance. You mentioned the reverse 911. I'm familiar with how that's worked. I was involved in the emergency operations work group at UC San Diego. There is a reverse 911 there. I wasn't aware that we had an operational reverse 911 that affects or that reaches out to every resident in Imperial Beach, including cell numbers or texts and home numbers and
I
that
believe
sort
it
of
might
thing.
only hit the landline.
Right.
So.
Okay. This is something to think about because landlines are getting scarcer and scarcer. And if other people are like me, that landline is like 95% of the calls come in on that landline are sales calls. So the cell phone is the real deal for communication. So and people will voluntarily, from the experience I've had elsewhere, they will voluntarily, if it's confidential and it's for emergency notification, they will provide their cell phone numbers because they want to know, in advance of an emergency that's going to affect them. So I would also recommend that you give serious consideration to an effort to get the cell numbers of IB residents so they can get those early notifications. So those are really my only comments. Oh, I just wanted to add, I learned about a tsunami warning that affected Imperial Beach through somebody who lives in El Cajon. While I was away, I was just in a conversation with them. Oh, you guys just had a tsunami warning down there. Really? And I had not heard anything about that. So to me, if I hadn't heard about it as a council member, I'm sure there are a lot of other people who may not have heard about it either. The most critical thing, whether in any kind of an emergency, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a active shooter, whether it's especially something that can be anticipated like a high tide, high surge, not this surge, but the wave surge event.
High surge.
High surge could be a problem, but but with the tidal forces, early warning is completely doable and predictable, and so if we have those systems in place, it can really help us minimize damage and possible loss of life. But it takes a real concerted effort. It's not something that can kind of happen because you alone want it to happen. It's going to take, the city manager and others, and it may take some resources, to provide that. But we are a beach community. We are going to be affected by this El Nino, no question about it. We need to be thinking about how we adapt our early warning and our preparations on a more, and sea level rise is happening. There'll be experts talking about what's already going on and what's likely to be happening, and all the cities along the California coast are preparing for this. So we may as well start with this El Nino event to lay the infrastructure, the early warning and action infrastructure that we can build on as we go forward. Sorry it takes so long, but it's an area I've worked in, and I know it takes a lot of effort and resources to get early notice and to get action. And anything I can do to help, please feel free to call on me.
Yeah, and one of Dave could get us 100 sheriff's deputies here in a quick time if we needed to go door to door and knock and evacuate an area to make sure that those people that didn't get the reverse 911 are notified. So we do have that at our thing.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I wanted to go back to what Councilwoman Bragg mentioned, and now that she's gone, we'll just go ahead without her. But, we do want to make sure that when people come to this meeting on November 17th, that they get something out of the meeting. So we plan to have someone from NOAA there to talk about the El Nino, what it means, what it's looking like, how it's shaping up. They have some very detailed models about what this could mean to us, and they can probably at least predict how it's going to affect us. We also want to make sure that residents understand what it is that their responsibilities are when we're having an event. And so we plan to share that with them. But tonight, the way we wanted to finish up tonight was, so even though we on the 17th, we want residents to be aware of the things that they should be doing during an emergency, we wanted to finish up tonight with what does the city council do during an emergency? And so if there's no other questions, at least on some of the things we're doing at a staff level, I know the chief wanted to finish up with, okay, so now there's an emergency happening. What does this body do? What are your responsibilities so that we don't interfere with the important work that the public safety people are going to be doing? And that's, so if there's no other questions, I think that's how we kind of want to finish up is what we would expect from the mayor and council.
Okay, you can see on this last slide we have up here, when there is a disaster, we know that you as city council members are an important part of the city, and you do have a lot of citizens out there that have your ear and, call you on the phone and, let you know of those areas that are flooded or hazards or there are issues. So in this scenario right here, we want all the information either from the city council, city staff, or, wanting it to go through the city manager so that when it goes to the media, that we're all given one story of what's really happening out there. So, the city manager is the one that we want that, that message to come through. So as the fire chief, I will be letting him know from my perspective of what's going on, and then he can get that message out. And as council members, we're looking at the same thing, and as for all city staff.
Yeah, what we've seen in other, and I think it's probably happened here when we've had emergencies, is that council members really want to be responsive, and that's really important. Problem is, if you see flooding and get a call from constituents, and you're calling Chief French, and then you get the same one, and you're calling Chief French, he could the possibility of getting 5 calls when he really only needed 1. And so what we really want to do is try to limit the information to the key information going to the public officials, not them being bombarded with information. The other thing is the mayor, of course, has a very important role of who he calls, when he calls that person. There's some very strict protocols about how emergency situations are handled. And so rather than deal with that tonight, we will have some very specific discussions with the mayor about how that waterfall works to make sure we don't miss out on funding and whatnot. And then we will also follow up in writing with council members, because if the mayor is unavailable, of course, there will be need for council members to step into that position. So, but we're excited about it. I think it's fun to be working on this stuff, and it's a for real situation. The Navy is a great partner. EDCO has stepped forward and said we have this equipment that we could provide. So it's been a lot of fun seeing people step up and say we really want to be part of this effort with the city. So.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. French and Mr. Hall. And, I think Mr. Patton and I probably remember I'm not sure, Laura, if you were here when the pier broke in 1980. That wasn't even an El Nino year. But what Noah's going to tell us is what we heard on Friday at an El Nino planning session was that we have a massive El Nino. And we're not really clear what will happen, but we do know that if we get storms, anything like the 80s and then 97, you're looking at 15 to 20 foot surf with, and it's the storm surge that really makes a big difference. Is that water pushing up and pushing over our berm. It'd be probably pretty good to map the king tide events. Just get them out there so we know, whether or not it's going to be big surf. We pretty much guarantee there'll be some flooding on the king tide events. And then just a minor point. I know the public works staff is here. I pointed out when I was on the Ironman race on the Navy base, one thing I did notice was that they hadn't cleaned out their storm drain that links into the city, the north side of the city. I forget the name of that street. There's a poor woman there that's been literally flooded out. Yeah, and it's our responsibility to really make sure that the Navy gets that fixed, like they promised us almost a year ago, and then number 2, that we before a storm we go check that, and then during a storm, because that's probably one of the easiest places that floods in IB in addition to other places. And then finally, yeah, I think letting us know immediately via text when there's a problem is something, even with a tsunami alert, would be great. So anyway, great. Thank you very much. All right, consent calendar items. We're going to do 2.1 to 2.4 and 2.6. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve consent calendar item numbers 2.1 through 2.4 and then 2.6. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present. Bill Bray absent.
Great. And now we're going to talk about Item 2.5, breakwater final map by Sudbury at 9th Street and Palm Avenue. Um, And the sorry, Councilmember, um, s- no, I'm sorry. Right, and Assistant City Manager Dush is going to address the issue.
I wasn't going to have a presentation other than just indicate that, staff has reviewed the application and it complies with the requirements, and we would stand ready for any questions that you might have.
Councilmember Spriggs, do you have a question?
Yes, could you just take a minute and describe what the final map approval process represents so the general public knows? Thank you. And
Certainly.
then I have a comment after that.
So briefly, the final map that is on your agenda this evening is a consolidation and the formation of property into parcels, so they can be legally subdivided. So the construction of the development located at 9th and Palm can get underway with the various footprints of the building. And so it's a legal document that creates parcels. And as a part of that, it's also a part of the performance agreement that the city has with the applicant in order for that development to occur. And so this is one of the major steps that the applicant's been working on. To follow this will be the additional information of construction drawings and building permits to get the site ready for the development of the 9th and Palm property.
Thank you very much. My only comment, and the reason I asked this item to be pulled, was actually superseded by public comment earlier today. And I'm glad that Mr. Lenyan is here from Sudbury. Thank you for coming, and thank you for all that you do to keep this project moving forward and try to line up the best possible tenants for our breakwater project. You heard the public comment. I'm not sure how much people are aware outside of the council chambers of the fairly large number of people in Imperial Beach who are following what's going on at 9th and Palm, the breakwater project, and perhaps some of them, but certainly another large segment of the population very concerned about the quality of groceries available to this community from nearby establishments. It just seems to me this is an opportunity to resolve these issues through, as soon as it's possible to do so, a report and a disclosure about what the plans are for specific tenants at 9th and Palm. And I would urge the city and the developer, Sudbury, to present that information to the public at a council meeting as soon as it's reasonably possible to do so. There's a lot of interest, and it has now taken on a form of great concern about the need for good grocery resources in this community. So it's doubly urgent. It's not just about a project that's taken a long time to get off the ground anymore. It's about real services that people feel they need and deserve, and indeed do, in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spriggs. Any other comments before we vote? Mr. Patton?
Yeah, I too have heard a lot about the tenants and the quality of the grocers that we need in Imperial Beach, as well as outlying communities that would use that grocery store. As well as I keep hearing when's the, I guess, the first nail, the first, and do we have any idea when that is going to happen? When we're going to drive by and actually see some construction there? For me, that's a big question.
Sure. And I know that Esteen is in the audience, and he probably has the best idea, because a lot of what we do is sort of respond to the information that we receive and reviewing the plans and whatnot. And I know that in working with Esteen, we have weekly meetings with him, and he's been working on putting together a more detailed sort of work plan for us. And perhaps he can sort of give a good indication as to when you'll start to see some physical activity on that site.
Well, Esteen, would you mind coming up? And I do appreciate everything Esteen does, as well as Sudbury, and sticking with us through the thick and thin, a lot of thick. So just 1 minute of your time.
Thank you very
It's-
much.
Or two.
For the record, if you your name and who you work with, so it's on the public record.
Okay, Estine Lanyon with Sudbury Properties, and Mr. Mayor and City Council members and community. We're very excited. And to answer your question, Council Member, would 90 days be soon enough? And
All right,
we
let's
are
hear it,
so
guys.
excited.
90 days. That's a number.
Well, and you know, it's a real number too. And you don't see me much lately because we are working overtime, literally. And as the team here knows, and that's why I was so concerned when we're pushing. We're actually hoping to do something sooner than that. We're taking in consideration El Nino as well, and planning for that. And then the holiday season too. It's really a real issue with breaking at a really large scale right during December. And so we didn't want to hear that, but that's the reality. So we're trying to be very smart. We're right around the corner. It's been almost 80 months we've partnered, and we're right there. We're so thankful. We can't wait, and we're not going to let you down. It's going to be everything plus what we promised, everything we could ever do.
Well, you're going to have to beat Coastal Campus, you know.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We'll be there.
And I saw you sitting back there, and I figured you might want to come up and give a couple words of hope, you know.
Actually, we're real thankful, and I do want to say too, because we know it's been an issue with not being able to talk about who the tenants are, but it's honestly the confidentiality agreements. We're almost there. We're just about there, and when we give you this, you're just going to be amazed, because we're amazed. It's something that has taken all these years and a lot of hard work to get to, but it was well worth the effort. And we're really now more excited than ever on what it's going to do to transform, we believe, Imperial Beach into being recognized by others as one of the finest cities around. So we're very thankful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, with I would like to entertain a motion to approve the final map for the Breakwater Project MF 1062 proposed by Sudbury Properties. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Bilbray absent.
Great, and thank you, Mr. Spriggs, for bringing that up and having that out as a separate item. Now we move on to public hearing 4.1, resolution number 2015-7640, approving the use of CDBG funds for the senior center. The public hearing is now open. Assistant City Manager Dish will give a report on the item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. Steve Dush, Assistant City Manager. If you'll recall, a couple of weeks ago, we sort of kicked off this topic. If I can just pull this up. I'm having some technical difficulty here. This is the annual discussion for the utilization of community development block grants, CDBG funds. And as we had talked about last time, there were a couple of key sort of policy questions that had come up. One was the aggregation of the annual disbursement of those funds for a period of 5 years in order to get a larger sum of dollars in order to do a worthwhile project. And the other key decision point that we discussed where some additional information was requested, and we had provided some of that in your staff report, and I've summarized that in a table that I'll bring up in just a moment, as it relates to costs associated with new construction or a remodel. And so, again, just briefly for the benefit of folks who may not have been at the last meeting, the CDBG funds are funds that are administered through the county, and so those funds are provided by Housing and Urban Development. And so again, what we're requesting to do is to utilize those funds for the senior center. And one of the policy questions that we had asked of last week, which I believe was ratified, was yes, let's group those dollars. But then also the other one was the ability to either reconstruct or to build new. So with that information, we went back and we took a look at some of the various options and really wanted to provide you with some basic facts to the existing senior center. As you know, it's comprised in 3 buildings and it's approximately 3,300 square feet. And it currently has various physical needs associated with it. I know that Hank Levine, our public works director, could give you a lot of detail associated with it, but there are issues associated with the windows. There's a lack of air conditioning. There is termite issues associated with that structure. So we went through and worked with another design professional to come up with really the best way to analyze a comparison between a remodel and a reconstruct is to do it on a square footage basis. There's really no other metric by which you can measure because if you are doing a remodel, there are so many different variations. Whether you want to do just a roof, you want to do roof and windows, you want to do the HVAC, the heating, ventilation, and cooling system. Again, those things could be mixed and matched to meet a certain budget. And so the design professionals that we consulted with had provided us with a range of a cost per square foot for a remodel between $350 and $400 a foot, and for new construction between $500 and $600 a foot. And so taking an analysis to help you all sort of provide us direction as to the application that we would need to submit for the CDBG funding is to really have an analysis of what is the best approach. So just for instance here to again measure the reconstruct or a remodel versus a new construction. If you were to take that existing 3,304 square foot senior center and you were to fully remodel it at a $375 a foot average square foot price, that would yield that would cost about $1.24 million. Now, if you were to take that same $1.24 million and apply that to new construction, that would yield about 2,300 or 2,258 square foot. And we had talked last time about the aggregation of the funds for $500,000. And so $500,000, again, under a complete remodel and new construction yields the following figures: 909 for new construction and a remodel for 1330. Obviously, that doesn't meet the needs that we had talked about. And one of the comments was, well, what other sorts of funding mechanisms are out there? I know that the mayor had provided some information, as well did Councilmember Bragg, about what are some of the different sort of funding mechanisms that we could tap into in order to realize a substantively improved senior center. And so through that information that we had received and in further discussions with the county who administers these funds, we have developed sort of a recommendation that's manifest in the resolution whereby we would do a phased approach. The phased approach, the first phase would consist of a 2-year ask of the county for the CDBG funds in order to do planning and design. And so that roughly, we roughly receive about $95,000 a year from our allotment. So roughly $190,000. Any of those dollars that would go above and beyond planning and design needs could be rolled over into phase 2, which would be construction. So during that first 1.5 year period of planning and design, we could determine, again, based upon which policy direction you want us to go through, new construction or remodel, all of the elements associated with what we could do. It would also allow us the ability to go and explore different funding mechanisms. And so that would be our recommendation to you in terms of an approach, regardless of whether it is a remodel or a brand new construction. Is that for the first 2 years, the ask for the CDBG funds for planning and design, work through that process and identify additional funding streams in order to realize a project. And so with that, I'll stand ready for any questions that you might have. And the recommendation is to go forward with a 2-year ask for planning and design and adopt the resolution.
Before you start, Madam Clerk, are there any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
And I did fail to point out that because of some of the information that we had received, Jackie had reminded me that that the staff report was in the last minute agenda info, and really the substantive things related to some dates and whatnot. But the meat of it is pretty much the same from the previous.
Councilmember Patton? Did you? Oh, let's resume. Okay. Councilmember Spriggs?
So thank you very much for the report, Mr. Dish. And I think the recommendation makes a lot of sense. As I multiply the square footage in each case, I see that it's about 1.8 million at 550 square feet. $550 per square foot times the 3404 is about 1.8 million for new construction, which is about $600,000 more, 40, almost 50% more. But I guess the question is, and what we're grappling with the last time when we discussed this is, how much more would it cost to give us both scenarios in terms of this study or feasibility work that the first year or two of CDBG funds would be used for, versus just making a decision one way or the other to apply the funds to design for new construction or apply the funds for design of renovation, as opposed to trying to do both and seeing where we come out. I mean, that to me, that is the question. Are we going to lose a substantial portion of the funding available, even though it's only 1/3 of the funding, less than 1/3 for new construction, $500,000 versus the 1.8 cost of new construction? We still don't want to see those planning funds not used most effectively. So what I understand the staff report is saying is that planning funds are going to be used to give us a more detailed cost estimate, among other things, for going either direction.
Not quite. The recommendation that we're seeking is the policy decision to go one direction or another. You're going to need to do the planning and design work under either scenario. The real question is whether you would value, based upon the data that's given there, to go through and do new construction or to do a remodel. If we decide to go through an evaluation and planning and design for both of those scenarios, we would need to not utilize the CDBG funds, utilize city funds to go through that analysis, and then go through the CDBG process. They will require us to pick one scenario or another. They won't fund a study to just do a what if. So the information that we're seeking is to go through the policy question of new construction or a remodel. And again, with a remodel, there are so many different varieties, which is why we broke it down to the square footage basis. And again, the delta between new construction and a full remodel, apples to apples comparison, is about $125 a foot. Now, I would also indicate that the efficiencies that you could gain, it may not necessarily have to be a 3,300 square foot building. Some of the information that I've heard is that a venue to allow for up to 200 people is, it would be a good size. And from a building code standpoint, an occupancy load, you need about 15 square foot per person. And so that translates into about 3,000 square feet. So again, those are some of the efficiencies that you would gain with a singular building. You may not need 3,300 square feet. And so that would be a part of that design process. And again, with a remodel, if any of you've ever done remodeling, and my wife and I have went through that process and completely redid a house, you never know what you're going to run into on a remodel. So these are our conservative estimates. That's why we had a range. You could go up and down on that remodel cost.
Councilmember Bragg, did you have any additional comments? Or are you okay?
No more right at the moment. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dush, for putting this together for us. For me, it's really simple. when I looked at the list that you had provided, new windows, new glass doors, new roofs, new floors, new ceilings, new appliances, new cupboards. If I truly believe if I were to ask our senior citizens that frequent that, and these are people that live in IB, and a text message I got from somebody from the city of San Diego, who comes to our senior center. This isn't really, if I say, hey, Mary, what do you think about those new cupboards? I think her response would be, Lori, we really need more room for dances or for aerobics or for, intergenerational teaching that I have a vision for our senior center. So as much as this remodel is nice, it doesn't reach the vision personally that I have for our senior center. So for me, the policy decision is as simple as you put it. Do you want to remodel or do you want a new construction? My vote tonight would be for a new construction and for what's laid out, your 2-year funding. When you look at, and I said it earlier, the average age, the age that for us, the threshold age for people to enjoy our senior center is 50 years old. As people are living longer, that means there's that many more people out there who could utilize this center. So you really can't think of our senior center as a bunch of little old ladies and little old men. And if you have the opportunity to go over there and participate in especially their exercise, their stretch and flex in the morning, and they would put most of you to shame. Let me tell you, they're an active bunch. I think that's what I should be doing here as a council member, is taking into consideration. And I have long said that I think that we don't do as good a job as we could for our youth and and our seniors. So to me, it's a real easy decision this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Patton.
And after looking at the senior center and looking at the remodel, and it's a big Band-Aid, and I think our citizens, our seniors, our community deserves better. And I would be all for a brand new building. And I think it would be a showcase over there. And I think in the long run, we could save money by making it a very efficient building for the seniors. And I agree with Councilmember Bragg. We have our youth and we have our seniors, and now this is a huge opportunity for us to hit a home run for the seniors of our community. So, like I said, I like how this stands. I like how it's been written, and thank you very much for writing it the way you did. Good job.
Yeah, I want to say that my experience in Imperial Beach is examples of, we had an old lifeguard station. Councilmember Patton and I worked in it. I have not what's the word? I don't think back fondly of how great it was. It was the best thing we ever did. It was tearing it down. It was awful. And I'm really glad our lifeguards have a new state-of-the-art visitors lifeguard center, and we have a safety center, the Dempsey Safety Center. That was a great decision that the city and the port made. The library, tearing down the library is I've been going there since '71. It's not a good library. And I look back at what the decision that our colleagues in the Sweetwater School District made to do a nickel and dime the high school, build the gym first, and then administration building, and then the dining hall and cafeteria and HB building. And our kids are still left with out good classrooms. And the fact is they spent millions and millions and millions of dollars because they did it on the cheap. It's expensive to be cheap. And I mentioned this last time, the tote company refurbished a 40-year-old boat and just sank. And they just launched 2 LNG ships out of NASCO, the same company. So that senior center, it's not like this is Paris where it's from the 15th century and it's amazing architect that worked for the king that built it with, beautiful materials. We did it on the cheap back in IB back then. So I definitely think with 2 years planning, I think we can definitely identify a good design that merits and benefits our seniors, because we're all going to be seniors. Some of us are, some of us aren't. I guess I'm eligible for AARP now. So anyway, I'm going to be using it. I know my dad does, and I think it's really important. So I think, and hopefully there'll be some mechanisms for funding out there in the state. The state recognizes we've got to invest in infrastructure for folks in need. So anyway, I
So, Mr.
definitely
Mayor,
support.
could I just add that I'll probably be the first amongst us to start using it on a regular basis, and I really like what you said, Councilmember Bragg, about the all the exercise programs. They're probably exceeding what I'm doing right now, so I'm all for moving ahead with it. And in fact, I'd like to just move that we adopt the resolution with the caveat that we favor a new construction. And that's my motion.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Bill Bray absent.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we have, oh, I hadn't closed the public hearing, so I'm closing it. Sorry, I needed to close that for the resolution. Get better at that. Report 5.1, adoption of resolution number 2015-7636, approving the Imperial Beach BMP design manual for permanent site design, stormwater treatment, and hydro modification management, and authorizing minor changes to the Imperial Beach design manual as may be directed by the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board. I'm assuming I just did the whole public information process just with that title, right? Anyway,
Well,
Environmental
thank you,
Program Manager Helmer will give a report on the, very succinct, I'm assuming, and report on the item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Anything with that long of a name obviously goes in the Stormwater Department.
Right.
So I'll be taking this item today. The item that we have for you today is an adoption of the new Imperial Beach BMP Design Manual. And what this document establishes is new stormwater controls for development projects, the stormwater conditions we provide on new and redevelopment projects in the city. This is part of our stormwater permit that was issued to us in 2013. And because there's so many requirements, this is just one of them. And it took us 2 years. It took us 2 years to develop a county-wide model BMP design manual with all the other agencies that are covered under the stormwater permit. That's the 21 co-permittees and the cities and the agencies that are applied under the stormwater permit. And over those 2 years, we had extensive public stakeholder engagement with regulators, with the building community, with a lot of the public, to develop a model standard for the region. And that is what each of the agencies is now required to take to each of their councils to adopt in part of our local ordinance. So requiring new stormwater requirements for development projects is not a new requirement for stormwater permits. This is something that we started doing in 2001 under the 2001 permit. In 2001, we established our Imperial Beach Ordinance 8.31 or 8.32. It's our standard urban stormwater mitigation plan. And that required the city to provide conditions to treat stormwater for any project of a certain size or criteria. But when the stormwater permit was reissued in 2007, the requirements for development projects to treat stormwater subsequently increased as well. So in 2007, the city the city updated our BMP design, our standard urban stormwater mitigation plan and our Imperial Beach municipal ordinance, and introduced new concepts. One was low impact development, and another one was called hydro modification. We had a substantial discussion in this council about that. So when the new permit came in 2013, the requirements from the regional board to include new BMPs for best management practices for development projects were required to, one, update a BMP design manual. One of the other requirements was it completely eliminated the standard urban stormwater mitigation plan, which was our old 8.32 ordinance. It also introduced a new requirement that introduced a concept of alternative compliance. So if your development project can't meet the new development standards, then there's a pathway to have alternative compliance in order to meet new stormwater requirements. And it also increased requirements for hydro modification. So to give an overview of what this really applies towards, it applies to two types of projects: standard development projects, which is the vast majority of projects that happen in our city. Those are your single family homes. Those are projects that are on less than 10,000 square feet of impervious areas. And then there's priority development projects, which are essentially the hotels, the large condominium that we have in our city. So if you're a standard project, there's a minimum threshold of requirements to treat stormwater and air project, which a lot of them are what we've already been prescribing on a lot of our development. We amend the soil for any landscaping areas so it can absorb water that comes off your roof. We don't allow development projects to discharge directly into the street. It has to go to some type of vegetated area before it goes into the street. So it gives an opportunity to infill water and to treat the water so it's cleaner when it goes into our receiving waters. The second type of development projects is the priority development projects. Those are the larger projects, and those have to meet an engineering design standard to both treat stormwater and to control the flow that comes off your property. And this is where you're really going to see a lot of benefit in the region of improved water qualities when you develop these priority development project sites. In Imperial Beach, we only have a handful of them in our community, so you're not going to see a whole lot of them come through. But that's definitely where the BMP Design Manual really, all the meat of the document is focused on. So what we have before you is to adopt this new BMP Design Manual. It also authorizes minor amendments to be made to the document by the Public Works Director. And that's because as this new stormwater permit gets implemented, it's also rolling in additional agencies that were previously not covered under one stormwater permit. That's Riverside and South Orange County. And because of the phasing of the permitting, these new agencies will be rolled into our requirement and will have to implement similar, or it's not similar, exactly the same requirements to treat stormwater on development projects. But as these agencies get rolled in, then our requirements can actually change as more information gets developed. So things like in our manual, the fact sheets for designing individual BMPs on sites will likely be updated. Clarification on procedures and for design review would likely be updated. So minor changes would be authorized to be made through staff instead of having to come back to you guys to reauthorize a whole resolution. And then also, it's worth noting that once this BMP Design Manual becomes effective, this staff will need to come back to you to amend the existing chapter 8.32 because it'll be no longer needed and we'll need to just delete it. So we'll just be authorizing the implementation of this manual through resolution. So with that, I'll take any questions that you have for the stormwater BMPs in the design manual.
Just, Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, great. Councilmember Spriggs? Bobby, did you press? Okay, I'm going to clear this, that's all.
Thank you very much for the report, and I really appreciate your slides because I think that they really explained a lot better, a lot clearer, not better, clearer than the staff report. Maybe it's because I had already read the staff report. I guess the main question I have is we've got, by my count, we have two projects that are major that are going to be affected by this. One is one is Bernardo Shores, and the other is the prospective new hotel site at Seacoast Drive and Ivy Boulevard. In layman's terms, what are these two projects? Very different kinds of, one's on the bay and one's on the ocean. What are these two projects going to have to do new that they wouldn't have had to do before, if assuming they're both covered? I mean, not in great detail, but just in basically, what's the difference with the new regulations?
So you're actually touching on a real detailed issue, and it's actually, just so you might hear it, it's called prior lawful approval. It's how you entitle rights onto a development project, and then that project can move forward and develop those rights. The Bernardo Shores one, we're working really hard to make sure they fall under the old stormwater permit requirements. That's what all their designs are designed for. So where the city's working hard to ensure that they get prior lawful approval in order to develop under the previous permit. The new hotel, for instance, is going to fall under these new requirements. And the new requirements you're going to have to implement, mainly apply to controlling flow, controlling hydro modification. And the real engineering meat of this document controls the size of which the discharge from your project site can be. So it means you have to have a larger retention area to either store or to reuse the water on the site in order to mitigate for what is called a design capture storm event. And the design capture storm event is it's the 85th percentile storm, but it ends up being about a half an inch of rain over 24-hour period. So any project that hits the priority development condition will have to retain and store water on their site for up to 1/2 an inch of rain for over a 24-hour period. And that's the engineering design standard that it will need to meet.
Well, that might mean, for example, that since it's going to be covered parking, not a lot of hardscape exposed, presumably, that they would have to design in catchment features on the roof and on the other surfaces and store that rainwater rather than have it run off. Is that, I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of,
things like cisterns, things like retention systems. If it's along the beach, then you have more permeable soil. So infiltration areas where water will infiltrate into the ground and not run off the project site. So any number of those or a combination of those, as long as they meet the engineering standards, would be able to meet those requirements.
I suppose this is going to make every new project, proportionately more costly to develop in order to build in these features.
I mean, it's consistent with the previous orders where it's just incrementally more expensive every time they reissue a new permit. But the requirements are more expensive now than they were in 2007.
Okay, thank you very much.
I was talking to Chris Peregrine, the manager of the T1 Estuary, and he said last time it rained, he went out to Old Palm Avenue and actually was elated to see the stormwater features that we incorporated in that. That app, by the way, just won an award from Circulate San Diego, and he said it worked. The stormwater was doing exactly what it was supposed to, and our new alley paving plan it does the same thing. It's trying to capture that stormwater. I moderated a panel today on water conservation, it included someone from the airport authority, and they talked about overall their goal is to capture all their rainwater because they want to reuse it. So I think that's where we're going to be going in Imperial Beach. The idea is that in the future, in theory, we would be capturing this water and potentially could reuse it. So anyway, and just to comment on the Bernardo Shores. Bernardo Shores is a huge improvement over what's there now because on that trailer park they have no absolutely catchment at all for stormwater. It runs straight into the bay. So anyway, it's good. All right. I want to entertain anybody else speaking or we good. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2015-7636 approving the Imperial Beach. And bear with me here, it's very long. BMP design manual with an effective date as set by the municipal stormwater permit order number 2013-0001 or as amended by the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board and authorizing a minor amendments to the Imperial Beach BMP design manual as may be directed by the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board or as necessary to support consistent implementation of the BMP design manual across jurisdictions within the San Diego region. Is there a motion? All right, please vote. I think it's the longest motion we've adopted.
Motion carried unanimously by those present. Bill Bray absent.
Number 5.2, resolution number 2105-7639, awarding the 13th Street Class 2 Bikeway construction element of the Bikeway Village Development Project S15702 to PAL General Engineering Incorporated and appropriating an additional $55,000 from the 2010 bond fund. Public Works Director Levine will give a report on the item.
Mayor, council members, I believe you're quite familiar with this project, so you've seen it several times, so I'm not going to describe it at all. The last council meeting that this was brought forward, you authorized the city staff to negotiate with a contractor of our choice to negotiate with on a bid cost for doing that project. That was done with PAL General Engineering Incorporated, which is a contractor that has done 3 projects in the city in recent time. One is the most recent is the one is the alleys that are ongoing right now. And the price that we came up with that was negotiated was $559,365.86 against an engineer's estimate of $573,900. So it's within what the engineer's estimate was, actually about $19,000 less. It's our recommendation that you award this contract to PAL and also approve additional $55,000 from the 2010 bond fund to cover the cost of this construction, as well as the administration activities that go along with the construction. I'm open for questions.
Madam Clerk, do you have any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I don't see any discussion. Councilmember Bragg?
Mr. Levine, do you have a construction start date?
We do not. That would be something that we would discuss with PAL. My expectation would be that they would want to start it shortly after they've completed the alleys, and the alleys are supposed to be done the first part of December. And they're pretty much on schedule with that plan right now. So probably the first of the new year. I'm not sure we'd want to do it during the holidays.
Great. With that, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution. Are you on there? I don't have it. I have a vote thing. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Thanks. Just a quick recap. This project is going to reduce the 4 lanes to essentially 3 lanes, one northbound, one southbound, and a center lane. That's a turn lane, not a traffic lane. And we received, this was quite some time ago before the last meeting, when we looked at this project, we received a traffic engineer's report indicating that there would be minimal traffic worsening problems associated with this change in 13th Street. For the record, I challenged it at the time. I don't see how you can go from 4 to 2, especially with all the rush hour traffic in and out of the base without some impact. But I deferred to the judgment of our traffic engineer. My hope is that if this project works well, because we need north-south bicycle lanes, and so my hope is that it will work well. I don't want to be a harbinger of negativity. I like to be very positive. I hope that everything possible will be done to inform the community about this change before construction starts, so that people aren't surprised by it. Going back to the experience that we had on 9th Street with the roundabout, and none of us on the city council want to go through that kind of having to back off of something that we had voted for and thought was a good idea as an experiment. So this is going to be a fairly significant change. I'm optimistic it's going to work. It has worked with a few complaints, but not many, on Old Palm Avenue, and it's worked with a few complaints on IB Boulevard as well, where it goes to 1 lane each direction. So I have faith that this will work, although that is a fairly heavily traveled route, to and from the base. So I just wanted to put on the record that that's what's going to happen, and urge the city to take all reasonable measures to make sure the public is notified, and maybe with some diagrams, and certainly that the base is notified, because that's probably 50% or more of the people who travel on the street, so that everyone can accept the change. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution. Oh, okay. Sure, yeah, no problem.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Wes Bommier, Community Plans and Liaison for Naval Base Coronado. So thank you very much for bringing up your concern about Navy traffic. We have been talking to the city manager about the design. We actually were at the site a few days ago, and we talked about a few things that might be able to help the flow of traffic. And our biggest concern is as you approach the base, having just one lane that goes through there and then goes into a very strange intersection to begin with. And I think there's a way to alleviate some of that by not making it basically one lane each direction all the way to the end. There's a mechanism that you could actually add. It would be basically a straight turn lane into the base on the right-hand side. Mr. Hall and I talked about that, and I told him that I would send a letter from the base to the city about that concern. So we're not concerned with the single lanes all the way down the road. It's just as you get closer to the base, an ability for the base traffic to veer a little bit to the right to the existing lane that would allow them to continue into the base. Because we see the value of the bike lanes. We think it's a great idea. We support that concept. So when you brought up the Navy, I just wanted to take the opportunity to tell you that we have been involved. We have been talking about that. And I believe our concerns have been addressed.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that it's not just about bikes and traffic flow. It's also about pedestrian safety, and those are the densest neighborhoods, and probably the neighborhoods with the greatest concentration of children. And I've had a number of residents talk about how unsafe they feel crossing 13th Street at the near Grove, especially, and that area. I think it's Fern. And they really talk about how the crossing areas just aren't adequate. And those are crossing areas for schools. So I think it's part of our really safe, sort of getting kids to school safely on their bikes and walking with their moms and strollers, et cetera. So I think that's going to be an important part of this project. Do you have, okay, good. So with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2105-7639, awarding the 13th Street Class 2 Bikeway construction element of the Bikeway Village Development Project S15 to 702 to PAL General Engineering Incorporated, and appropriating additional $55,000 from the 2010 bond fund. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Bill Bray absent.
Great. Number 5.3 is formation of 60th anniversary celebration committee. Mr. Hall will give a report on the item.
Mayor and council, because it is our city clerk's birthday, I'll move through this relatively quickly. Happy birthday, by the way, Jackie.
Happy birthday, city manager.
Yeah, see, we share the same birthday. Isn't that nice? Well, anyway, real quickly, what we would like to ask the city, as the city council knows, our 60th birthday will be coming up next June. And so what we are seeking is an ad hoc committee of the city council. More than 2 of you can sit on the committee, but a committee of 2 of the city council members work with staff and maybe some volunteers in the community to come up with maybe a few little ways to recognize the community as we approach our 60th birthday. So, there's nothing preconceived at this time, but if you guys wanted to discuss maybe a selection of a couple council members to form an ad hoc committee, we would maybe public would appreciate doing something for the 60th birthday of the community.
Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Any discussion? Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. I was on the city's 50th year birthday celebration, so obviously I would like to be on this one as well. I'd like to volunteer my time. I have spoken to members of the community who were on the 50th celebration as well. Former Mayor Diane Rose, her daughter Dawn Rose, our former admin secretary here, Tessa Lero, has volunteered. So we do have some strong experience from 10 years ago. I'm glad that they're willing to come back 10 years later and do it again. We don't envision a lot of, certainly this is not a benchmark birthday, it's 60 years, but In discussions with city staff, we are out of all of our inventory of T-shirts and our coffee cups, backpacks, all those kinds of things that we actually sold celebrating our 50th birthday. So, of course, that would be part of it. Also, to give assurance to the community that we would work closely with the Sun and Sea Festival as well, because that, coincides now with the city's birthday. So we would be in very close contact with them. So, if anybody else would like to join the committee, we'd love to have another.
I wouldn't mind volunteering unless there are other people that are on the council that want to. I don't see you jumping up and down to volunteer, but actually, I'd like to. Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Spriggs, you're so involved with Sunasea anyway. I know that you're there the whole time, and I know you're involved very, very much. So anyway, I'd be glad to. And I know Councilmember Bragg had talked about it before, and I think I'm really glad you reminded us that we need to do it. So I really value your institutional memory and celebration of the history of Imperial Beach. It is very important. So anyway, I'd be glad to do that. So
Being an institution soon with her memory.
no, it's very, very important. So can we get a motion? The city council will form a 60th anniversary committee and direct staff to take the necessary actions that will result in the formation of the committee with Councilmember Bragg and Mayor Dodino.
Yeah, we'll just define that as an ad hoc committee, so it's not subject to the Brown Act. We can just meet and talk.
Okay. Is there a motion? Okay, please vote. Great. Last item. This is a good one.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Bill Bray absent.
I'm sorry, I like talking about things that save us money. All right, discussion and number 5.4, discussion and request for direction regarding a live broadcast of city council meetings on Cox Cable. City Manager Hall will give a report on the item.
Yep, Mayor and Council, we were informed earlier, back in 2010, we were informed that eventually Cox Communications may start charging us to broadcast these meetings. And our ratings have not met, I'm just kidding. But what's happened is that we have a franchise agreement with Cox Communications that says that they will broadcast these meetings for free. In the meantime, they have now entered into a franchise agreement with the state that supersedes the franchise agreement that we have with Cox Communications. And that franchise agreement allows them to charge us $1,200 a month to broadcast these meetings, or $14,400 a year. Now, it's important that the public have access to these meetings, and so we wanted to let the council know that they are live streamed on YouTube, so that anybody can watch them live on YouTube. You can watch them on the city's website. They're also available on AT&T Uverse, which is another cable company that's available to our residents. So there are any number of ways that residents can watch this meeting. What staff is suggesting, though, is that we no longer broadcast them on Cox Communications for that sum of money. Again, I think public education and government channels, the PEG channels that are offered through most cable TVs, there's no charge for those. And so I'm not sure that it makes sense to be spending $14,400 per year to advertise this meeting. But so we're asking council if we can stop broadcasting this on the Cox Communications and not spend that money.
Councilmember Spriggs.
I'm very dismayed by this action by Cox. I suppose that there probably that many other city councils whose proceedings are carried on local access TV are going to be similarly affected, and they may just pay the bill, and it's going to put a few $1 million into Cox's pocket, wherever they are the monopoly cable provider. My concern is, do we have any idea how many people are maybe old school and looking at the meetings on cable versus YouTube or other approaches? Do we have a way to inform the public, because this is not doing it, this meeting, that this change is going to happen if we vote in favor of not continuing with Cox? I would just want to make sure that, because we've talked on this council and, especially one of the mayors, I think important initiatives is better public outreach. And if a number of people are using Cox, it's going to have the opposite effect in terms of outreach, at least for the short term, maybe the medium term. So I just, if we're going to go this way, we need to have a plan to try to communicate in a concerted way the alternative ways people who are interested in following what's going on at city council can do so, and to make sure that maybe we can even get from Cox their subscribers, and maybe they'll even, they wouldn't do that, send a notice out to them, of course, because they want the money. But I don't know, I'm just searching for a way that we don't have the opposite effect on our community that, we've intended as council to be more accessible to the community by, in saving $14,000. That's my only comment. Shame on Cox.
Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, when would this take effect?
Well,
If
we would,
were to vote this way, when would it take effect?
well,
Immediately?
I think we would have an immediate conversation with Cox and let them know that the direction the city council is going and see what their reaction would be. The reality is they've already billed us and we have not paid that bill. So we're a little frustrated by it. We were in conversations and they were going to reconsider it and they were going to have some discussion, and then a bill came in the mail. So the communication has not been real positive with Cox on this
Okay,
issue.
well, up until the time they pull the plug or we, decide to not do this anymore, I think that certainly at the beginning of each meeting, Mr. Mayor, you could make a statement saying, these meetings are no longer going to be televised on Cox, and here's the options. We do know that people watch at home. And when we were all out campaigning and just in everyday business, they'll say, if I'm at Vaughn's every Friday night, it seems like, and somebody will say, I saw you on TV, I watched the meeting. So we know they do watch. That's not going to stop if we tell them the other avenues, the other ways that they can still watch. So I think we get at the beginning of every meeting and every opportunity we have, put that in that, little trailer that we have on Palm Avenue right now, watch your council meetings on YouTube or whatever to help get the word out. So I agree with my colleague, Mr. Spriggs, the letting the community know, because people do enjoy, I don't know if they enjoy watching. I know they do watch, but it's up to us to let them know what the other avenues are. Thank you.
I see there's YouTube and there's also AT&T channel 99 for people that do have AT&T. So those are a couple options. I think that we keep looking at options during this process, that we just don't limit ourselves to those two things. And if we could try some negotiations with Cox, I mean, if you ever had a cable company and you call them and say, I'm going to drop you, usually they say, hey, well, this is what we can do for you. So let's give it a go.
I think there's a movie, The Cable Guy, and then a Seinfeld episode about this. So we just keep the cable company waiting, right? One thing we could do is get a better camera maybe for the YouTube. I don't know if that's possible, Mr. Villa, but it probably wouldn't be that expensive. It's not that high quality, so that's something. But yeah, we can't afford to pay that. I'm sure the public will agree that $14,000 to Cox is money down the drain.
And one other suggestion we've had is, and I think that Mr. Villa is working at this as well. It's very difficult for someone watching to follow our presentations. So some link into the presentations. And when someone is talking at the podium, they're facing away from the camera. So perhaps a camera so people can, so we're going to try to work on some.
Maybe just hold our phones and FaceTime the whole thing. I'm not, or Skype it.
But this does raise the question that a lot of people are, especially, well, don't want to do this on an age-based thing, but a number of people, including some of my friends in town, aren't on internet.
I have a statistic, 25% of people in California do not have internet access. 25%.
And so, this is the problem. For people who aren't on internet, chances are they're, my generation or older. Chances are they're not going to change. And chances are they're probably more the viewers than the teenagers are of our proceeding. So, or the millennials, I should say, who are astute in internet in all forms. So I don't know. Just to me, this is problematic for that group. I just don't know what size that group is, and if it's like 12 people, then which is possible, then maybe this doesn't have much of an impact.
Yeah, and people are dropping cable like flies. I mean, it's all over the country. Cable usage rates are just going down because people have realized this is not a good deal. So anyway, but yeah, we can't afford 14,000. So anyway, are we asking for a motion here? Then we're directing the city council to basically tell Cox we're not willing to pay 14,000 anymore.
Yeah, if I could get direction from you to call Cox and say, look, I don't think we're going to continue, and see if that might improve the negotiations that we've had. Right now, it's pay it or don't broadcast.
I'd like to add that we ought to also talk. It'd be good if you talk to your colleagues
Yes, I've done that.
and get them to take the same position. There's more leverage if it's just not little old Imperial Beach.
Remember, Cox is mostly just in the South Bay area. Time Warner is not charging this, and that's most of the county. So most of the cities aren't affected by this.
How about Chula Vista?
Chula Vista is, and they are going to continue to broadcast. The challenging thing for me, the frustrating thing for me, they're charging the city of Chula Vista $1,200 a month. They're charging the city of Imperial Beach $1,200 a month.
You kidding me?
10 times bigger than us as well. All right, so someone want, Mr. Patton? I think we need some specificity in that motion, though, just to make sure we're clear. Actually, can we amend that motion? I think a decent price means 0. Is that what you mean? Okay, all right. All right, good. Are we got that? Great, please vote. Awesome. Oh,
Motion
sorry.
carried unanimously
I'm
by
sorry.
those present.
You didn't do read the thing. I'm
Bill
going to get
Bray
out of here so
absent.
bad to celebrate the birthdays. Are we good? Okay. Now I can do the, thank you, everyone. I'm adjourning the regular meeting.